Hi, and welcome back to Now and Next. In this episode, our guest is Chris Wieduwilt, founder of ACOY, a strategy lab that's helping artists create deeper connections with fans. In our conversation, we talked about the challenges that artists face when trying to grow their careers. We explored the emotional connection between fans and artists, and how NFTs can play a vital role at strengthening and nurturing that connection. We also explored why Web3. Why should we even care about NFTs when you can simply right click and save? So join us on this journey into the world of music, tech, and people. Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. How are you?
Thank you very much. No, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, Evan.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm super glad. I found your profile on LinkedIn. I was looking for different guests and things like that,
Mm.
and came across your profile, and I was like, wow, this guy's doing some really interesting things in the music industry. Like music NFTs are not a space that people know a lot about. It's not what we hear a lot about. Some people are saying it's not useful. Maybe it is. It's a curiosity of mine, and one of my good friends is in the music industry as an artist. So I was like, oh, let me talk to this guy, see what his perspectives are in this space, and satisfy my curiosities. And then I'm sure other artists as well would be curious to hear what you think. So that is why I asked you on the show, and I'm thrilled to have you on. Please, let's start with some intros. Like, who is Chris, and what do you care about in the world?
Right. So I hail from a small town in central Germany. Music has always been really part of my life. My mom played the piano, my dad the guitar. I started playing guitar when my brother started the drums. My grandma was an opera singer, so I had a
Wow.
great childhood, which was filled with a lot of music. And if you look into the family archives, you're going to see me dancing to Michael Jackson on old camera tape, singing through Phil Collins songs. And I was always recording music on cassette tape with my brother for my parents. I performed in front of them. So music has always been around, and this has really shaped me into the person that I am today. Really believe
which
music. Yeah.
which instrument would you say is the one you're the most like, you enter like a flow and you don't really
Yeah.
think about where your movements or your fingers are or whatever? Like, which instrument does that for you?
So I think the one that has been most intuitive to me is in terms of songwriting guitar, but I actually started out playing bass. And when I
Oh,
started out playing bass, you're actually accompanying the other instruments. So the guitar player is coming up with a melody, and you're trying to find the rhythm, what the drums are doing, and being on point. So I started out, I liked it, but I wanted to take it to sort of like there was so much in me that I wanted to creatively get out. So I switched to the guitar. Yeah.
that's awesome. So how long have you been playing the guitar?
Probably about 20 years now.
Okay.
There's been ups and downs, high times where I was practicing a lot. I was fortunate enough to play in different bands and performing as a songwriter when growing up. But I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later when we get into the part why I actually started my strategy lab.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm asking all these questions about music and your interest and your passion for it
Mm.
because you um, went from being, I guess, an artist. Well, you still are an artist. I'm sure you still play, but now really
Mhm.
into the tech world or like the advisory world. Um, and that transition must have been maybe scary, maybe a risk of some kind or new. So, can you share why did you decide to make that jump? How did it feel for you? And
Mhm.
what do you think about the tech world and emerging tech today and what it can do for artists?
Mhm. So I actually the last 10 years I've been working as a digital product strategist, and I believe you're in a very similar field. You're also working with disruptive technologies.
Yeah.
So I've always been very curious. I started out so when I moved to London 10 years ago to pursue a career in music. I also wanted to go into the professional side of things. I started working as an artist manager. I was booking different gigs and festivals. I was in a studio for different artists, and there were some recurring topics that came up that really made me question the entire artist development process as it is laid out at the moment, and the sort of struggles that are coming into play when you want to build up your career. So this recurring theme that came up is I don't have enough revenue to front load, which is coming in. Because when you're on Spotify, when you're doing gigs, etc., sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the money to roll in, and it can get tough. When you have the bills that you need to pay, you've got your rent, etc. So it was really about how can I find ways for artists to unleash their power so they can concentrate on like holding their skills and unlock their potential. Because the reality now is that 1 in 42 artists that they're getting signed to a label, but 99% of them are actually never releasing an album. And that's because a lot of, there's always the next artist in line sort of that is waiting to be discovered and developed. So other artists that are on board on a label, they're getting pushed back. And I really wanted to say, well, I hear your story. I want to together with you tell your unique story, because it's worth sharing with the world. And deriving from my interest in technology through my digital product strategy work, I said, well, this is good for me. I can use both my skills, both as a musician, understanding the craft of musicianship, and also bring in sort of like the business side and the technology side to unlock a music artist's true potential, basically. So that's why I started ACOY, which is a Web3 strategy lab, empowering music artists and music professionals to use NFTs to build up fan communities and front load revenue streams.
That's awesome. I want to explore that problem a little bit. You said 99% of artists that are signed to a label don't publish an album. From your experience, do you think that is, I'm trying to find the right way of saying this, because it's not about assigning blame. It's not about saying one person's lazy,
right,
or the industry, or like, oh, it's the other person's fault. But why do you think that is? Like, is there something an artist can do, or that artists in general can do, to get their album out there? Is the system designed in a way that maybe prefers that 1% of people who make it? Why does that problem even exist?
I think it's really a lot of factors that are feeding into that narrative of what does it take you to get your story out at the end of the day. The internal affairs of running a record label with different departments and different tastemakers that are looking at the current trends that are unfolding before our eyes. I mean, if you look at TikTok and Spotify, etc., there's always new trends emerging. So and through technology, it's been becoming so dynamic that the landscape of music and what is trendy and what works and what doesn't is ever changing. So in terms of that, let's say like an artist signs to a label, then starts working on the record, and like 6 months later, I don't know, they find another artist which is of the caliber of like Justin Bieber, and they're shifting these budgets to the other artist where they think they can get ahead and make a hit record, because that artist is sort of developed in a way already where it's polished, and they got a good marketing strategy and a good personal brand, so they can push it out, and this other artist has to take a back seat. So it's really a mix of different things. And like you said, at the end of the day, there's no one to blame, because it's sometimes just it comes down. Sometimes it comes down to luck. If you're breaking through or not, you can be an amazing artist, but there might be something else that is taking place that will hinder you from, unleashing this potential and waiting around, sort of.
Waiting around, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's not just about talent or skill in your craft as a musician or an artist. It's about understanding the landscape from a business perspective, understanding what your audience might want, in addition to also having to be a really skilled artist. Is that group of people, those artists who are trying to figure all of that out, is that why you started ACOY? Am I saying that right? How do I pronounce the
Yeah, that's
name?
right.
ACOY.
ACOY.
Okay.
Yeah.
ACOY. Awesome. Is that, you're doing this for them, right? Like to help them?
Right. I mean, I see myself sort of as providing educational tools and tools that can help them unleash their potential and the story that, because sometimes it's an artist might be in a tunnel, just like a developer might be, when him or her are like working on a website and polishing everything and about to push the code, etc. So it's the same with with artists. We're all in a rabbit hole sometimes, and we're trying to work on our craft and on a great song that you get so consumed in and that you forget about the business side. And there's still a lot of misconceptions when it comes to using NFT technology. And I honestly believe, I think the point where we stop talking about the technology and we actually focus more on the value proposition, that's when it's going to become more like a focus also in the general public, that NFTs are bought. It's in the same way that you go to a record store and buy a vinyl, that you just digital collect instead of only physically collecting. So yeah, it's really my mission to get them into the world and try to see how that technology can support them in building a fan community and meaningful relationship. Because I really believe in the 1,000 true fan story theory, that it's a compound effect after all. Every relationship that you make and every connection that you make is meaningful, because if you have one fan and that person really likes your music, that can spread very, very fast. They tell their friends about it and their family. And next time you come to town, there might be the entire family that is coming to your concert. So it's really about looking at the micro level and trying to unleash your potential, not just like looking at the vanity metrics sort of reach and impressions and click throughs, etc. But it's the relationships underneath the KPIs, the performance metrics that are making a difference, and that's what I want to help them achieve.
So let's get into it. What is ACOY? And let's pretend I'm an artist. I'm skilled in my craft. I'm really not, but let's just pretend. And I discover your company. How do we work together? How does that whole process work?
Right. So the first thing is I jump on calls with artists, and it's like just going for coffee. Right. You're meeting at a coffee house and you're just trying to get to know the person, because everyone and every artist is different and is approaching things different in their craft and how they want to convey a message. So I really need to get a feel of how that artist ticks and how they like to be approached, in the same way that, when you're working with different companies and you're doing consulting work, you need to get a sort of a sense of, developing a chemistry. So
Yeah.
the first call really is about establishing that chemistry and trying to build a foundation for a great work relationship. I definitely get them into the process of explaining, well, I can do this for you. Where are you? Like, how crafted are you have you used NFTs before, the technology? What have you done in the past in terms of touring and different records, etc. And then if we've established that, then I'm trying to tailor a plan that is fitting to the artist. There's of course tools that I'm using, because I'm only one person, so it's not a scalable business in that perspective. But I'm trying to be as hands-on as possible to tailor something which is according to their needs.
So let's talk about that, the fan engagement piece, and how you're essentially helping artists embrace and learn about Web3 and how to make it work for them. What are the tools or the aspects about Web3 that you are helping artists with? Is it just the artwork piece? Is it the mint piece? Is it everything? What happens after a fan buys the NFT? Like, who manages that community?
Yeah, great question. So I have a 3-step process that I have and lay out for artists. The first one is education. So I take them on a tour of understanding the technology and what it can do for them. I sort of run them through different use cases that artists have used in the past and how they've, um, you know, sort of delivered utilities, benefits to their fans. I'm taking them through marketing fundamentals. I do an audit for them, looking at their social media profiles, the lyrics, what are they trying to convey in their messages, how the music is sounding, how crafted it is, etc. So I don't provide like services on songwriting, but I'm always trying to go as deep as possible because that will help me and that's the second step. So after the education step, the second step is the prototyping sort of. And that's when, if we've got this is where we're working out the personal brand for them, the artist brand to maximize impact in the market. So we take a look at, what is the purpose? Why do you want to build up a fan community? Why do you want to provide utilities through selling an NFT? What should your asset look like? What's your target audience? So there's different personas, right? That you need to sort of see how you do your messaging. And then these different personas, you have to identify where they are. So the different channels that they are, is that a social media platform or is a large bunch of your fans? Are you connecting with them at concerts? So then this really dictates how the strategy is laid out and also executed. And there's different aspects and benefits of NFTs that I see for artists. It's creative flexibility. So you're not tied to an intermediary like Spotify, which is sort of like a gatekeeper. And it's hard to get your information out with NFTs. It's sort of unlocking this layer of finding out more about your fans. So after the second part, the step 2, which is the prototyping, I help them release, like you said, help them release the NFTs. We pick up the marketplace. We pick up tools. Do you need a Discord to build up a fan community, or is it more like a Telegram chat that you start with? Then what is really important is post-drop care, because you do want to build a momentum towards the launch of your NFT. But just as important is, and that's with every product that you're launching, right? If it's a brand, if it's a company, if it's a movie that is released or an artist that is dropping an album, you always want to make sure that there's care afterwards, a care package, sort of, that you don't lose the momentum, right? So I try to give them tips on community building, different market strategies that they can implement, and how to drive engagement in the community.
That makes a lot of sense because I know, speaking just for myself, I am a huge fan of The Weeknd, the artist, right? And like his early days. And when I love how when an individual, a fan, is like an early fan, when like the artist was playing in small venues or releasing stuff and no one knew about them. I think it's just a human thing of like, you just want to flex or you're proud. I'm like, yeah, that person, I discovered them early. Like I'm an early adopter and I placed a bet and it worked out. I just remember like when this NFT stuff was when I was learning about it and especially when I was learning about NFT tickets, as a use case, I remember thinking like, I wish NFTs existed, because I have now, if NFTs existed back then when The Weeknd was early, in his earlier days, I could have the biggest flex right now. People talk about Bored Apes as their profile pictures. I'm putting my The Weeknd NFT on my Twitter profile picture, my Facebook, LinkedIn, all of that. The whole world will know that I was an early fan. I joke a little bit, but at the same time, my appreciation for his skills and the artist that he's become is massive. And he's Canadian, so also another, a great artist and Canadian, so double the fun there. So with the reason why I feel that music NFTs, whether it's the actual sound, the actual audio, or a ticket or something that that artist releases for their fans, I feel that there's such a strong emotional connection, and we're at a point where there's a gap. There's like, I think fans who enjoy music and discovering artists understand that emotion, or I think anyone who
Mhm.
enjoys music understands that emotion. But we're missing that piece in between before it starts to get adopted by everyone, before we all by get adopted, I mean, but before that technology gets adopted, before everyone can um, purchase or engage or interact with the NFT
Yeah.
of their favorite artists. What do you think is missing, or how do we close that gap before we can get all artists or a larger amount of artists to adopt this technology, use it, and give these NFTs to their fans, because people like me want them. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are a ton of other people who discover early artists and they're like, I wish I had something to say that I discovered them early when it's 5, 10 years later. How do we get there?
Yeah. So I want to roll back a little bit because I want to emphasize on what you said also about these collectibles becoming sort of like memorabilia. It's in the same way that if you had a ticket to the weekend concert, this could be an important piece of music history. So what if you had a music NFT from that artist, and you can really confirm on the blockchain that you've been an early adopter, and you will definitely be rewarded for that. So I think the missing piece that we have right now is there's, like I said, a lot of misconceptions in the market. May that be environmental concerns due to energy inefficiency, etc. There's crypto, which some perceive as fraudulent. There's a lot of regulation that is missing, that is sort of like easing putting some security in, and like easing some risk that people
Mhm.
they have. But I truly believe it's a compound effect. So it will be an effect of different factors that are coming into play. May that be, Amazon launching their marketplace, which is coming up this month. So they have a huge user base that they can cater to and cross promote from different products. They've got musical products. Um, they've got their music unlimited service. They've got Prime Music, etc. So there's already that sphere there that they can cater to, and you need to make it very easy to buy. And that's one of the things. The current process of getting some money from your bank account to a central exchange, and then sending that money to a decentralized wallet. And then you need to connect to a website where you need to pay in Ethereum, and you need to pay some gas fees. And then you've got this NFT in your wallet. It's a very complex and complicated process. So there's a lot of onboarding available, needed to make that happen. And we need to strip that off completely in the way, because we cannot, in the same way that some people will always, let's say, like, prefer to just listen to music on Spotify. We need to give them the easy access to collecting digitally, and this will probably not be driven by crypto payments, but it will be driven like how you buy a fashion item on an e-commerce store. You just pay with your credit card and PayPal. There's a premier music NFT marketplace called Sound.xyz, and over the last few months, they've the volume that is on that marketplace has been going down, but the important thing that has been happening is there's more collectors coming in, there's more artists, there's more wallets that are created, and they have an easy onboarding. So they've got an email sign in, so you don't need a wallet. You can pay with your credit card. If you want to, you can take that NFT and take it decentralized, but you don't have to. And I don't believe it's going to be just one artist making a huge drop. I don't know, maybe something like monumental happens with Taylor Swift, in the same way that she crashed the Ticketmaster website. But, I think it's really going to be driven by the compound effect and a mix of different things coming together before we change the perception of the general public.
Do you work with artists in Germany, or do you work with artists all over the world? Where's your client base usually?
It's very mixed. So 2 months ago, I did a drop with an artist. He's a lo-fi art, a lo-fi or lo-fi
Lo-fi, yeah, yeah.
artist, lo-fi,
Or
right?
both. Both. I mean, you
So
could say both. Who cares?
right, yeah. So a great artist. His name is Wilczynski. He did. So we did a drop together. And he's from Germany. There's other artists that I work with. There's a songwriter from New York that I'm in contact with. There's other artists from California. There's one in I think she's from the Philippines. So it's all over the world. There's curiosity is everywhere. So and I really love working with people from different cultural backgrounds. It's just so exciting, to see like how they approach life in general and how they think about technology. And I don't know, it's just really cool. I love them. I
It
love
is.
doing that.
It is. Absolutely. That's, part of what I studied was international business and how culture impacts
Right.
business. So, um, I deeply
Right.
can relate to that. And it's interesting how there are a few unifying things as humans that we all do, even if we're all in different countries, different parts of the world, different ideas, different, 99% of almost of what we do is different. But there are a few things that no matter what remain the same. And music is one of them. Like throughout the history of our species,
Mhm.
right? Music and just making sounds to come together has been a thing that no matter where you're from in the world, our species has done. So there's really a deep relationship between us as humans and sound, and the combination of sounds in order to create a desired effect is
Mhm.
is um, is beautiful. And now that we have this technology, we're able to really deepen the relationship between the creator of that sound, also known as the artist in this case, and the person experiencing that sound. So what do you think that there are, when it comes to like regulation, do you think that
Mhm.
that is something that can hurt artists and your business, or do you think that that's something that will help? And what are your thoughts on just regulation in the industry overall?
I think, well, this is a very broad and deep topic. I think we definitely need regulation to ease some of the risks, to to prevent things happening like the FTX meltdown or things get people getting scammed where their wallet is drained and all their NFTs are lost and there's no insurance that they have to claim. Well, I own this. Someone stole it from me. You cannot right now. You cannot go to the police and say, "Well, this
Mm,
guy stole my NFT."
yeah, yeah,
So it'll be very important that there's frameworks and regulation and compliances that are put in place to protect people from, um, finding their way around with this new technology. At the same time, it has to be innovation friendly. So I wholeheartedly believe we need a shift in that perspective, but I also believe anything that will hinder us from uh, creating new, and that's what it's all about in NFT technology or like Web3 in general. Like you're trying to make things better because that's what generally people care about when they use a product. They don't care about the technology, but they care about the effect and the value proposition they have about the product. So I hope in that perspective, we can preserve the value proposition fully while we still have an environment or we can establish an environment that is safer for everyone. That's my
yeah,
wish.
yeah. I agree with that. We need more innovation friendly innovation friendly regulation. I think it's not just regulation for the sake of it. Um, emails were, there was a bunch of scams in the early days of email with like the
Oh, yeah.
prince of this country needs your help, and in return you get a couple $1 million, and
I still get these
uh,
emails.
oh wow, okay, yeah. So they still exist. And so it's it sucks, right? FTX, I was burned. Luna, Terra Luna, I was burned. But I still believe
I feel you.
in the yeah. Okay, well, you too then. So or yeah. So people like you and I and other builders and enthusiasts still believe in the space despite the scams and some
Right.
of the unfortunate things that have happened. And I think that that's really powerful. And I hope that that conviction sends a message to the rest of the world and says like, hey, there's something here worth exploring. Yes, it sucks that these, the X millions or billions of dollars were lost because of scammers. But if the people who lost money are still around and still trying to create something that's going to benefit the world, then you should probably pay a little bit more attention. So my next question, which might be a bit tough or controversial, but why Web3? Like, why should anyone even care about NFTs? Just send me an image
Mm.
and just say, Evan, you are the owner of this image, and it's in my email. I can put it in my Google Drive, uh, and that's it. Over.
Mhm.
Why are we coming up with
There's
other solutions?
right. There's this so outside of the music industry, there's a few use cases that I'm generally excited about. There's one particular one which is putting your digital identity on the blockchain. If you're looking at refugees from Syria or Afghanistan coming to Germany or other countries, sometimes they have no means of presenting a like an identification. If
Mhm.
you're coming to a new country, who are you? Can you prove that you are the person? How old are you? Where are you from? They don't have their documents because they have had to leave and not pack it in, so they cannot find that identification. How about what would be if we had a soulbound token, which is it's non-transferable. You cannot transfer that NFT from one wallet to the next. It's your identity and you're owning it. How about you just come to a country and you say, well, you can find me on the blockchain. This is who I am. This is my name. This is my picture. And then there would be a way, a much easier way for these people to get integrated into the social system. That's one of the things that are very powerful. In the same way with artists, I think we can change. It's Web3 doesn't mean that there's not a lot of hard work involved in building an artist career, but it can give more artistic freedom to the artist and it can give creative flexibility. There's no gatekeepers, no intermediaries. You still need a team, of course, to build your career. You cannot do everything on your own, but it gives you that gateway to connect more directly with your fans and learn from them both ways. You can learn from the fan and the artist, and the fan can learn from the artist. And I think it's that connection that we've really not been having so far. There's crowdfunding, of course, that you can use, but crowdfunding normally is really tied to well, I need this amount of money to pay for my recording, for my mixing and my mastering and my marketing efforts, and I'll give you a t-shirt for that. So that's a transaction. You give me money, I give you the t-shirt, and then that's basically it. And bye-bye, see you later.
Under
But
the current system, right?
right. So
Yeah.
I feel like NFTs go a little bit deeper. What you said with this emotional connection, it's in the same way. You've got something in your wallet that connects you to the journey of that artist. And what we've been seeing with how brands are using them, they're going from the storytelling aspect of in traditional advertising, you're telling a story, right? That the viewer is consuming. But with NFT technology, I believe, and digital assets, we're going from the storytelling to the story living aspect that you're actually creating the story together with the brand or the artist, the creator. And I think that's a very powerful instrument.
You said story living. What's that? What's the difference between storytelling and story living?
So that's my perception. So for me, if you're telling a story, this story is crafted by you and you only, right? Because you're making sense of the stimulants around you. What would you like to, how would you like to craft your message and how would you like to come over, come across to your fan? But with story living, the fan is part of the process of maybe there's an initial story, but that story can be adapted over time. And the fan, if they, for instance, have an NFT, they can. There's a good example. There's an artist, a virtual artist called Chili, and he's using a bored ape. I know there's a lot of different things that we hear about bored apes, but for this one, so if you would have bought one of their band passes or access passes, that would, I think, just the band pass in that perspective, in that example, but it gives you access to actually writing music for him. So like writing, collaborating with that artist, collaborating on I don't know, a guitar, like a melody, or just providing drums or some lyrics, etc. So you're not just consuming the message, but you're actually engaging, interacting with the message, and you can adapt the message. And this is where this deeper emotional connection can come from.
So there's an element of co-creation that is being unlocked thanks to token gating access to the artist, right? Like if you put up, if a fan needs to buy an NFT in order to gain access to the artist and be able to potentially collaborate with this artist, it's generating a deeper emotional connection, and B, it's also bringing the fan into the story of the artist, into their creation process, all the way to publication and release, right? In the case of, so what's exciting, I think, and feel free to, disagree or share your perspective, please. What's exciting sometimes about artists is it's like there's a mystique around them. They could be the biggest artist, like Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, whatever, but their creative process, their ability to take different words, put them together, or sounds, and then release it in a way that makes me and others feel something. That feels like it's like a skill, and it's like, wow, this is incredible. When you bring in the fans or the someone else into the mix, and you're co-creating with your favorite artist, for example, do you think that kind of takes away from the artist's mystique and their ability to make people feel things? Because now you're taking inputs from other people, and maybe I'm just putting The Weeknd on a pedestal here. I can fully admit my bias, but there's just something mysterious and cool about the fact that, like, I don't want anyone to touch, like, other than the team he had. I don't want fans coming in and messing it up. Like, I will listen on YouTube to fan remixes and things like that. But if The Weeknd's publishing something, I want his vision. Am I the only one that thinks that way? I mean, maybe there's place for both, right? Like, I'm not saying that all artists are going to release a full album with fan co-creation, but what are your thoughts on, like, are we losing? Is there potential loss of the mystique of the artist if the artist lets in people in their creation process?
I believe it really comes down to, like you said, it's sort of personal perception as well, right? How you view the music and how you connect with that artist, and you're sort of, like you said, you want to protect that heritage of the artist. You don't want anyone to touch it, because you want to believe it comes from that person and not someone else that is sitting in their garage. Not picking
That's exactly it. I could not have said it better.
Right. So, but it also comes down to maybe, and I agree with you. So it comes down to artistic essence and vision. So if that artist says, well, for my artist brand, I would like to invite people to collaborate with me. I think that's great. And it can be both good and bad, of course. And we're also seeing that with AI, rapidly coming onto the scene. And maybe you've heard that Grimes, like, she has a new platform that she released now, where she's inviting everyone to collaborate with her voice and create new songs. And I think it's really, for her, it works because she's generally very interested in new technology, disruptive technology, and what it can do. So, but it really comes down to the artist and how they want their legacy to be in the future. Because yes, with Grimes, she's going to be now connected to different creations through her enabling AI music to be produced with her voice. And that may be both good and bad. So it can absolutely diminish the artistic essence and the vision that they have, for the good or for the bad. So I think there's always pros and cons from that perspective. Generally, I think it's an exciting field, because if I think about that, like you said, with wow, I wish I could have had this NFT of The Weeknd, I don't know if that existed like 10 years ago. In the same way, I wish I could have maybe collaborated with one of my favorite artists. I don't know, maybe that'd be like Linkin Park or Korn, when I was growing up, listening to these bands. I would have given a lot to just even talk to them, or, my perspective, like my opinion being heard. So it comes down to how you want to discover and preserve the perception of that artist for yourself as well. So I think everything is right. There's no right or wrong, right? At the end of the day.
I like that. So basically, we shouldn't think about fan co-creation as a limiting thing it's not like black or white. It's not like either it's all good or it's all bad. It can be both. And maybe that's like part of the artist's evolution is how do you maintain your artistic essence, as you said, while still inviting part of, a number of those 1,000 true fans in the mix to really deepen that relationship even further. I think that is a really beautiful way of thinking and saying it. And maybe because I'm not an artist, I cannot relate to that feeling of wanting to provide input. I just want to consume. Yeah. But I could totally understand why an artist would want to contribute to their favorite artist's music. What do you think about audio NFTs and the ability for collectors to purchase audio NFTs and even collect a portion of royalties from it?
So in terms of the benefits that are created by using music NFTs, I mean, there's these different aspects. So what you also touched on is the royalty aspect, right? I think that one is rapidly changing right now. And it's something that has not been around in music distribution or music reselling. The artist is, when you buy an album in the record store and I don't know, 10 years later, you want to sell it on eBay, that artist is not going to benefit from that. So that's powerful. I mean, if there's a secondary income stream for the artist to do it a little bit more sustainable, because you don't have to release an album every 6 months, but you could potentially also live off of the secondary market royalties. Now there's a little bit of a rivalry at the moment in the industry that you're not enforcing royalties due to different marketplaces putting restrictions on that now. So like the Blur OpenSea fight that is that has been going on, which is hurting artists in a little bit. But there's one thing that I'm generally excited about is the proving the authenticity. So let me give you this example. So I bought completely random. I bought a soundtrack of a 90s movie called Eric the Viking. And it's with Tim Robbins and Terry Jones from the comedian group Monty Python was also in that movie. And the autograph of Terry Jones, he's now deceased, is on that vinyl. I didn't know when I bought it. I saw it and was like, wow, is that really Terry Jones? I mean, and I only paid like $20 for it. And I'm thinking, well, this must be worth a lot more, but there's no way for me to find out like how the scarcity is. I do not have a certificate of authenticity. And in the same way that, for sports memorabilia or like music memorabilia, you can have physical certificates, the NFT is the digital certificate in that perspective. And the NFT and the collection gives you more information about the scarcity. Now with that Eric the Viking album, unless you're really a pro in your field and you do a lot of research and you're a collectible, the king of collectibles, right? There's a new show on Netflix that is talking about that. There's no way for you to find out how big the scarcity is. I think these different factors coming into play, they help artists, tell a more exclusive story to fans and sort of persuade them into, following the journey. There's only like, 50 seats available. There's some that are going to pay a lot of money to be on there maybe in the future. But at the same time, I also believe in that everyone should have the opportunity to collect an item. And this is something that we're seeing now with these open editions. Open editions basically means there can be an unlimited amount of music NFTs minted, and everyone can be there, right? Because sometimes the feeling is, well, there's this 10,000 PFP collection, and if I sell it, well, I'm kicked out of the community. I'm not part of it anymore. And that's sad. I think that's sad sometimes, because you feel like, well, if I'm selling this one, like a part of me dies. I cannot talk to these people anymore because I don't have that NFT. So yeah.
It's a strong, the open edition it definitely solves a problem for the 10K, people who, there might be more than 10K people who might want it. I like that this new ability that we have with open edition. It might not work for everyone, but I love that with different types of NFTs, you can do different things, because it's giving artists and fans a choice. It's no longer just, you must decide this or that. You have different options and different ways of maintaining a relationship with the brand or the artist or whoever. If you could work with 1, 2, or 3 artists, like who's on your bucket list of artists that you'd love to work with?
Wow. Okay. You're putting it out there.
If you want to, it doesn't mean that, I'm sure you could work with a bunch, but like, who are like, some people, they've got something interesting. Or they might challenge me in the right way because their music or their style is interesting.
So I think generally I'm metal guy. So like my background is in metal, all kinds of metal music. That's what I grew up with. That has really dictated my childhood. So I would probably say a band like System of a Down, that, I'm really connecting to their heritage and their cultural background and the messages that they're trying to get across. Not always putting on the happy facade of everything in the world is working, but there's problems that we have in our society and with politics, etc. So this is something that initially really drew me to them. So I believe if they would do something like that in that perspective, I would be super intrigued, because there's a lot that you can tell through not only as a collectible and giving out utilities, but like drawing attention to different causes as well. So I think they would be pretty up my list.
Yeah. Though they're definitely well known. I'm less of a metal fan, but I know the band. So yeah, they're huge. Chris, this has been really awesome. We're gonna have all your info in the show notes, of course. But where can people find you? And if you have any final words that you'd love to share with artists and other people who might be curious, what would you like to share with them?
Right. So you can find me on Twitter at DeLorean Chris. You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, or ACOY.io. This is where you can find me. You can get in contact with me. Generally, I think be bold, but be humble across your journey. Open yourself up to new opportunities, because I think it can be very scary approaching a new field that you don't know about. So I think you need to really be out there and develop a strong work ethic. Go out there, do networking, go on Twitter Spaces, get to know other people, learn from them. So there's this whole realm of opportunities that are laying in front of you. You just need to, trigger that mental switch sometimes to say, my music and my message that I'm trying to get across, I wholeheartedly believe it can find a greater audience. So let me explore what I can do with disruptive technology and how far I can take it in my process. So I would love for new artists to come in and explore the opportunities and really change how we approach artist development. More equitable deals that are put out there, more attention to mental health also when it comes to an artist, that is not just about trying to squeeze out like a lemon and putting them on a very, very big tour of 100 dates or so, but it's really about listening to that artist, try to bring them on a path which is setting them up for success. And I think we can create a lot of great and good music in the world.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.